Rugby Championship round number 5, folks. The second game of the weekend sees the Boks hosting the Pumas from Durban. How is this one going to go is anybody's guess. The Boks on paper are obviously pretty strong favourites, but this Rugby Championship has not been a predictable one. Everyone is on 2-2. The top side's on 11 points. That's the Wallabies. But controversially, with that late try they got in that last game, and the Pumas are 2 points behind them in the bottom spot. The All Blacks and the Boks are in the middle, separated by points difference, with the Boks certainly put on in Wellington. But yeah, as I said, who's game enough to put a bold prediction in for this one? It is going to be a fascinating one, especially because Rassie has talked about potentially wanting to do a bit of experimenting in this game if given the chance. And the Pumas are the ones bringing the bomb squad with their 6-2 bench. So it's really anybody's guess. I am very much looking forward to it. We'll go through the squads which have been named, some of the predictions, stats, recent history. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this one is going to go. First thoughts about the Boks squad is that it's pretty consistent. He has had a side go to New Zealand, bounce back from disappointment at Eden Park, and absolutely take their chances in Wellington. They were on absolute fire. Nobody was living with the Boks in that second half. They were dropping the ball in the first, but when things finally started to click, they were playing like a team possessed against the ABs. If they can recapture that form for 20, 30, 40 minutes of this game, the Pumas will be in for a long night. But getting it to click consistently is always that kind of elusive thing which coaches search for. And remember, the Pumas will have been doing their homework as well. But as I said, they've not made wholesale changes. There's one change in the forward pack with Eben Etzebeth coming in for the injured Lut Diacha. So if anything, the forward pack gets a bit more grunt about it because, I mean, they're different players, Lut and Eben. They're both really big dudes, but just in terms of pure physicality, it's hard to go past big Eben. And then he's got Ruan Nokia alongside him in the second row who will kind of, balance the skill sets. I like Ruan Nokia's skill set, especially in the air. So, yeah, why change it? Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, Thomas du Toit, same front row. They absolutely bossed the All Blacks at scrum time. The Pumas will have been doing a lot of scrummaging practice, I am sure. But practice and then playing the Springboks are two different beasts. But yeah, I can see why Rassie's not made wholesale changes. And then Siya Kolisi, Peter Siftutoy, Jasper Visa, same back row. Interestingly, like when you look at the numbers, like who do you reckon the top two Springbok offloaders are? You probably wouldn't expect it to be Eben Etzebeth and Peter Siftutoy. This is the kind of rugby that the Boks are playing. They got these big physical ball carriers who've also got it in the skill set to just, ride the tackle, free the arms, and set up the next man. So keeping the ball alive when the guys are catching it is really such a hard thing to deal with. So forward pack, more or less unchanged. And yeah, they're going to be the platform for setting up the backs, assuming they can do even half of what they did against the ABs. Backline, Corbus Reinach still seems kind of not to be aging a day. He is evergreen at 9, and then Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. Obviously, he would like more minutes than he got in Wellington. He had to come off, I think it was an HIA from memory, early in that game, and then Marnie Lubbock came on and did stellar. But it'd just be nice to see Sasha get some time at 10, and Rassie has talked about, maybe shifts him to 15 or shifts him to another position as the game goes on. That's kind of one of those potential experiment things that goes on. But certainly I'd love to see Sasha get 40, 50, 60 minutes at 10 just to see what he can do pulling the strings for this Bok backline. Damien Delende with his big physical presence is going to come back at 12, so that's a bit of consistency in terms of selection with him kind of coming back in. And then Kanan Moody's there at 13. Dude, of all the backline players for the Boks at Wellington, didn't get as many chances to shine, but he was doing the kind of not so sexy stuff, like just chasing high balls, chasing kicks all day, really high work rate, which was pleasing to see. Cheslin Colby got back to like that, one of the best players in the world against the ABs in Wellington. Like he's been good in the Rugby Championship, but he's not been Cheslin Colby doing Cheslin Colby things. Saved it for the ABs in Wellington. Was looking pretty hard to play. And then Ethan Hooker, other end of the experience scale, was looking a very confident player. Pleased to see him get another crack because I mean, the dude running the ball out of his own 22 in Wellington against the All Blacks, like, he's just got no fear. So, yeah, I love to see that from Russie, in that he's seen that the guy has captured a bit of confidence, captured a bit of form. Let the guy have another run and see what he can do against a very good Pumas backline as well. Damon Willems shifts from 12 to 15. Remember, he had to shift during middle of the game last week as well. He was quite incredible. So, again, whether he can recapture some of that form, if he can, he's going to be a very hard man to shut down. Bench-wise, Vessels is covering hooker this week. Boenventa is coming in, and Wilco Lowe is still there as tight head cover. Achias Neyman is your lock cover, so steady. Likewise, Quokka Smith. Morne van der Berg comes in as the replacement halfback, which is one of the changes, but Manny Libok and Andre Esterhuizen round out the bench. And again, in terms of those experiments, will Andre Esterhuizen get a crack on the flank? These are one of the things that Russie has talked about with his kind of potential experiments. But, I mean, I think you'd be pretty happy with the selection if you're a Springbok fan. I mean, that back three of hooker, if you include Willems because he shifted to the back three, and Colby, had more run meters between the three of them than the entire All Black side in Wellington. This is what I mean. If they can recapture some of the form, they're going to be a hard team to play against. No Apalele Fassi this week, injured, and as I mentioned, Lut Diaka injured as well. But otherwise, minimal changes. For the Pumas, 6-2 split. And I like it because you've just seen the All Blacks forward pack get largely dominated in 2 games, especially that one in Wellington. So you need to do something. What do? You bring a bit of the extra beef. They've brought in Lucas Paulos as their tight head lock, and if I'm not mistaken, he is physically their biggest lock. So doing everything he can to support Sclavi at tight head and keep, they would love to get at least, I think, parity at scrum time. After seeing what happened to the All Blacks props, who are good props, usually, yeah, they'll need to get parity at least, especially on their own feed. They need to keep things steady. If the Boks are going to turn the screws on the Bok feed and keep the ball in there, good luck. But again, parity at least. Michael Vivas, Julio Montoya, they're the other 2 front rowers. Montoya's going to play the lion's share of the game. That guy is one of the best hookers in world rugby as well. He's going to tackle the house down. He's going to get the carry. The line-out's been pretty solid for the Pumas. It's just whether the props can front up at scrum time, but they're doing their best by bulking up, especially in the second row. Molina's up from the bench as well. He is the skills guy to complement the big lump that is Paulos. Back row, the Pumas have had one of the best back rows, most competitive back rows in world rugby for a number of years now. That continues. Pablo Matera, Springboks fans will be very familiar with that guy from his time with the Haweres, when he's playing in France, when he's playing with the Crusaders. If you watched him here in NZ, the guy is always one of the stars of the show. He does a bit of everything. And then Marcos Kremer has been an absolute tackling machine. One of the games this tournament, he got like 30-odd tackles. He is just that big, fearsome Puma, large body, and he can play in the second row, so physically he's going to be up for it. And then Joaquin Oviedo, the least kind of big name of the guys, but he's been really big on the ball carry from number 8. He likely gets subbed. He just gets to go, gangbusters for however long until he expends all his energy. Then he gets replaced. They've got Juan Montin Gonzalez, who is, again, a really skilled guy at line-out time on the ball carry, on the turnover, to bring off the bench. Maybe Matera switches to number 8. They've got options there, the Pumas back row. They're certainly not lacking for talent there. 9-10 combo of Garcia and Carreras, that's Santiago. They've not been tempted to chuck Albornoz back in at 10, despite the fact that he is back fit, but he is on the bench. He is that kind of mercurial playmaker, and really attacking option. But, I mean, Santi Carreras has got a lot of game time at Test Rugby at 10, and they've been doing all right, the Pumas, with him at 10. He's been kicking the goals, and certainly the way the Pumas play in terms of punishing penalties, his boot could be one of the difference makers. Chocobates and Sinti has likewise been a heck of a midfield combo. Sinti is one of the top guys in the competition for busting tackles. The only guy he's behind is his teammate on the left wing, that's Mateo Carrera. So this Pumas backline can fire and bust tackles and gets clean breaks. The only thing they haven't been doing that much of is scoring tries. Their try count is pretty low because, like I mentioned, they've been quite happy to opt for penalties. You got to wonder, if you're going to play South Africa away from home, is 3-pointers going to be enough? Because remember, even against the Wallabies, who are a lower ranked side than the number 1 in the world box, but they almost got ran down. They did get ran down once, and they almost got ran down the second time when the Wallabies kind of had a bit of a late onslaught. Iskro, the 7-star, is still there on the right wing, and then Juan Cruz Malia. Don't sleep on that guy because he always is one of the top guys for offloads, run meters, and setting up tries. Is there at fullback. Bench-wise, Ruiz, Wegner, and Marchetti. Same front row as what beat the front row replacements as what beat the Wallabies in their second test. Petty and Rubiolo, so 2 locks. Petty will replace Molina as the skills guy, and Rubiolo, who's also a tackle machine, very similar to Crema. He will replace Paulos, who's also a pretty big unit, but not quite as big as Paulos. Backs, I forgot, Juan Martin Gonzalez is there as well as the extra forward, as I mentioned, and then Benitez, Cruz, and Albanoz, just the 2 back replacements, a halfback, and Albanoz, who essentially just plays 10, but then they've got Santi Carreras, who can cover wing, who can cover fullback. They have got plenty of guys in the back line. Like Malia can come into the midfield. They've got plenty of guys who can cover if they get injuries, but they'll want to keep the starting backs on the field as long as possible. But man, you've got to watch out for Mateo Carreras. 10 defenders beaten alone against Australia. Tops the entire competition for busting tackles. He's, South African fans will love him because he's not the biggest guy, but he's powerful. He's got fleet feet, so you've got your own wingers like that in South Africa. Mateo Carreras is right in that mold. Stats-wise, South Africa, when the hands are stuck, and I feel like that's the key, because honestly, they had a fair few knock-ons at Eden Park in the loss, and then in the first half against Wellington, a ton of knock-ons, but when it's stuck, they really unleashed against the All Blacks. As I said, if they could capture that form against the Pumas, they're going to be a very hard team to live with, especially at home. They've dominated in the possession and the territory stakes in their games. But they'll still want the line-out numbers to be better. Like, there's still room for improvement even after handing the All Blacks their biggest defeat of all time. They'll want the line-out numbers to be better. They'll want the tackle percentage to be higher. There is still room for improvement in the Box team. The tackle percentage has been kind of low all Rugby Championship. They are a team that likes to get up in teams' faces, so they're not looking to make passive tackles and get 95% completion rate. They would rather get up out of the line, make other players make mistakes, and maybe fall off a tackle, but you've at least made the attacking player's life uncomfortable. That doesn't matter to them, but still, by their own standards, they would like it to be higher because their standards are pretty high. For the Pumas, they've been outscored in tries. Like, even in the games that they won, they've not scored as many tries as their opposition. So, as I said, they'll need to keep the scoreboard pressure high on South Africa, and discipline is just going to be one of those things. Like, the Wallabies had great discipline going into their series against the Pumas, and then suddenly started conceding a heap, especially at the breakdown. So if they can force penalties out of the box at the breakdown, they will be happy to kick the goals, although we are at sea level for this one, so they won't quite get as much distance as if they were on the height belt. But yeah, Mateo Carreras and Sinti, 2 of the top best tackle busters in the competition, but you got to feel like they would like to finish a few tries. 5-pointers, 7-pointers against the Box. Probably the order of the day, but we will see. Recent history between the sides is largely with South Africa. 4 wins out of the last 5. But you got to remember, these Pumas guys seem to save their best results or biggest upsets for when they are totally written off. And they're not being given a heck of a lot of chance in this one. They did win last year in a similar situation where it looked like the Box were just going to, go undefeated in the Rugby Championship, although that one was in Argentina. This time we are in Durban. The last time they played in Durban, it was 38-21 back in 2022. But the Pumas have had 1 win in their history in South Africa over the Box, and it was in Durban back in 2015. Juan Imhoff got a hat-trick in that one. So that's what I mean about scoring tries against the Box. Obviously, 2015, it's a decade ago, so things have changed since then. But yeah, Pumas would love some tries. Average score across the last 5 has been 32-18. So relatively comfortable for the Box. Last time they were in South Africa was 48-7, so it was a bit of a hiding. But, I mean, in Joburg in 2023, it was 22-21. So who knows, man? This Rugby Championship has been, as I said, anything but predictable. But the predictions are Bookies and Algorithm, Rugby Forecast, both saying the Box by 16. So at least 2+ tries to the good. So that's what I mean. Like, the Pumas boys aren't being given a heck of a lot of a chance. It is on at Durban at 5:10 in the evening. Pretty decent kickoff time for people in South Africa, although it clashes with the Women's World Cup final, which is unfortunate, between England and Canada. But I guess Like, there's a subset of viewers who would be keen to watch both, but I understand that the local organisers are probably focusing on their own markets. But I guess like the All Blacks match this weekend clashes with the AFL final over in Australia, so yeah, finding a free slot can be difficult. But yeah, it's going to be 4 o'clock in the morning for me, but I'll be getting up to watch it. Angus Gardner, the Aussie, is the ref, so you got an experienced ref for this one. Fingers crossed he has a good game. But you guys let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed all the squads and stats and predictions and that jazz. We are cracking on to 100K. Would love to get there at some point. But yeah, you guys take care, and I will talk to you guys again soon. See you later.